Today's October 3rd. Well, Ben Sherrington addressed the media, but not the fans, of course. We're all very comfortable with everything, right? No? Let's break down the decisions, the presser, go over some season notes. It's the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Yins guys, thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh, and I'm joined as always by my brother Jake. What's up, Jake?
What's going on, man?
Tried to pause for comedic stuff at the beginning, ran out of time. It's like when you're writing something down and you're like, I'm going to make this killer sign, and you start to write it, and then you get towards the end of the sign and you realize, I don't have enough room. And so the letters start getting smaller and smaller and like skinnier and skinnier.
You don't know how often that happens to me at work when I have to write on a cake. Like I'm writing happy birthday and they want this like really long name at the end. And I'm like, I thought I was off to a really good start.
I thought we were going to go with John, Jake, Jack, Josh. How many more J 4-letter names can I come up with? Jim's in the chat. What's up, Jim? No hat for Jake. All business.
Yeah.
Do you have party in the back right now?
Yeah, it's a party.
Yeah. Pit City What's in the chat too. Yeah. How we doing today? I'm sure everybody's really excited and really pumped and ready to go for this off season that we're all super optimistic about, because when you address, an end of season presser, what better way to do it than basically in secret? Just,
bro, like I was in my car. You're like, I know you're not going to be able to watch this because it's at like 2:00. I'm like, actually, that's not a terrible time for me. I'm on my way to work. I can at least listen to it, pull it up on YouTube and listen to it in the car while I'm on my way to work. Where do you find it?
I don't know. Looking for it.
You got to be there, I guess.
Got to be there. And it felt like all the people that we would normally go to weren't there.
Yeah.
There was like a few, like the people who put it up. I was like, man, I'm not even following this guy. And he's got the first piece of information out there. And I'm like, all right, what's going on here? So it's a little bit weird.
Yeah. I mean, I still don't quite understand it. And even tonight, I'm like, so there's nowhere I can go to watch the whole thing. Like even nobody recorded it and posted it. Like,
right.
You just can't. You can't.
Yep. And then you get into the whole, what he said. With Ben Sherrington, it's never about what he said for me as much as it's how he said it. And then once I parse through that and figure out what he said, then I'm like, now I have a problem with what he said most of the time.
Like, sometimes I think he goes into a press conference and says, I wonder how many words I can possibly use to explain the word the.
Better, right?
I mean, like, come on. This is what I felt like. This face is what I felt like listening to some of his comments.
Oh, jeez.
Like, just a mess. Like, I'm so hitting's overcomplicated. We're not simplifying enough. Okay, well, you're not simplifying this conference enough. You're talking just a bunch of words. How's the game going, man?
Oh, Diaz just got out of it, but Alonso missed that fly ball. What are you doing? All right, Alonso's off the list. We're not getting him.
Glad I was talking to a wall there.
I was listening to you. I was listening, but they got runners on second, third right now. Edwin Diaz he's in the 7th inning. That's where the Mets are right now. Down 2-0 after back-to-back homers.
This is how they met it.
This is the Mets metting. Wow. All right. We're going to keep moving before it's, all that stuff. But yeah, Jim says he said believe about 30 times when talking about Shelton. Boy, I got to tell you, that's we'll have our takes. We're going to have our takes on all that, right? We're not going to get into everybody. If you want to hear detailed, if you want to hear quotes, you want to hear clips, you'll hear stuff on the fan forums. I think is probably still going on right now. You have NS9 did their stuff last night. They went into depth in it. Bucko Banner did like playing clips of it and everything. So there's plenty of it out there if you haven't heard the actual quotes. There's not a whole lot, but if you haven't heard them or break it down. But we're going to talk about our thoughts about the whole thing, the coaching decisions that were made, and then we are actually going to still proceed with what we had planned and do a couple end of season stuff. Okay. Like here's, you know what I mean? We're just going to do, we're going to do back to our normal programming. Right. But first let's get this stuff going. Let's get it out of the way. And Pit City says better and believe, more like nerd.
So I think he literally watched Ted Lasso a few too many times, and he's just trying to do that, and it's not working.
Now that one's lost on me.
Believe.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hey, it's Ron's birthday today.
Hey, happy birthday, Ron.
Happy birthday, Ron. Officially old as dirt. So it's
interesting.
Official. It's now official. That's awesome though. Hope you've had a great birthday.
Yeah.
So let's get right into this. Well, okay, I guess we start with our thoughts on Haynes, Justin Message, and the strength and conditioning coach, Adam Vish, all fired. And, let's talk there. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, everybody saw the Haynes sighting from a mile away, or the Haynes firing from a mile away. It's just the Justin Message. I'm not even 100% sure what the bullpen coach does to major league level. Does he work with the bullpen arms?
He's the one
is he just a presence in the bullpen that's like, coaching the bullpen in game?
Well, he's the one that tells them to blow the save or to get it.
Right.
So
that's what I mean. Like, I don't understand. Like, your pitching coach is your pitching coach. Or so I thought. And correct me if I'm wrong. I guess I don't know the hierarchy of the whole MLB coaching staff, but I was unaware that the bullpen coach was in charge of the bullpen arms as far as he deserves to get fired because they weren't very good.
Yeah, no, it's not like that. I mean, I'm sure there's something there as far as getting them ready to go into games and making sure all that stuff. I suppose there's something there, right? But what it's not is, I mean, Oscar Marine's the pitching coach.
Right.
And so Justin Message is just out there with them during the game. I imagine there's a little bit, but it's not. I don't think that this is really, to be honest with you, I don't think this is because anything that he could have done or not done. Because the bullpen coaches, yeah, exactly what Jim's saying here. I don't think a bullpen coach does actually anything. It's not a matter of you didn't do your job. I'm going to be honest with you. It's probably just a matter of his contract was up and they needed to make an announcement that somebody was moving. That's all just me, right? I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
But like, that's where I'm at with this. Like, I wonder if Adam Vish, which is the strength and conditioning coach that they also parted ways with, and Justin Message were just clearly their contracts were up and they wanted to change. You know, when we were talking about a week ago, 2 weeks ago and all that stuff, we were saying the room needs to be changed. The atmosphere needs to be changed. If this is their way of doing something like that, that would make more sense than putting the blame on him. I think Andy Haynes is an entirely different situation. We knew this guy was gone. I don't think there was anybody who really thought that he was going to be there next year. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought that was clear middle of the season. And I knew they weren't going to do anything until the season was over.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. I thought, and then that came true. Doesn't actually mean I knew, but you know what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah. I think the strength and conditioning coach, um, I think it could help, getting somebody new in there. Maybe you can help alleviate a little bit of, what's been hindering Key. Um, everybody goes on, and I said right before the show, I can't. I'm tired of people talking about Bednar's weight. Like, you can be a big dude and be able to pitch and be in a good enough shape to be able to pitch. So maybe there's something along those lines. I don't.
Yeah, I don't even
Losing
know.
weight isn't a big thing for me. Being in shape and losing weight are two different things, in my opinion. For some people, but being able to last the whole season is a thing that's real. He hasn't shown that he can fully get through the whole season and be the same pitcher the whole year. There's signs of it all over the place. Like, there's just some guys, like some injuries, and that maybe could have been avoided. Maybe he can do a little bit with Kutch, a little bit more to keep him healthy throughout I don't know. Is it going to change? Maybe. Is it not? Maybe.
Yeah, I have no idea. And Ron, I don't know the answer to this question either, asking if most guys have their own trainers. He does something or he wouldn't have a job. So I'm not close enough to know what that is.
I feel like most people have their own trainers for the off season, but in season you're going to be with the team guy, I would imagine.
Yeah. Ron, you've been on the Haynes. If you go back and look at our live streams on the archive, on YouTube, you'll see the comments from Ron on every episode saying they got to get rid of Andy by God Haynes. That was the quote over and over and over again from Ron. So he's all about Andy Haynes. I know this is inevitable, but it's worth talking about. When Sherrington did address this, he made comments about how great he is and all these things, but that they needed to go. What was the actual quote? And I knew this was a big one, right? Yeah. Jim says that got to imagine strength and conditioning coach is a pretty easy job to replace. Probably the biggest pool of candidates to choose from. I mean, it's once again, that's the one I really am thinking, like, this is probably just, they have to make an announcement. His contract was up. They're going to move on. I don't know that, but that's what it feels like. I don't feel like there was any well, this is who we're blaming. Like, I just didn't feel that. I do have a little bit of the quote. But what was he saying about, we have to deliver in a more consistent, clarifying, simple way and follow through all the way and do that as, again, consistently as we can. Talking about the change, right? First off, I understand. It's confusing.
He's just, sometimes I think he's just trying to sound smarter than he is. And I think he'd gain more respect if he was a straight shooter and not using all these fluff words.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. I don't like his approach to it. Ultimately, what I try to do, and this is just me. This is just the way that I am. I like to do the benefit of the doubt kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? And so I'll read the comments. I'll get annoyed by the way he's saying things. And then I'll take a step back and say, all right, what's he trying to say here? And what's he avoiding saying? You know what I'm saying? And those are some of the things. What he's avoiding saying. I'm just going to cut right to it. You heard my tone heading into the end of the season. Oh, that's it, man. They've got to consistently improve and get better, more consistently. And we believe we can be more consistent about improving and believing, I'll add. Thanks, Jim.
That's funny.
Here's the thing. Like I said, let me go back because this is what I want to get to here. You heard me say coming into this that I believed that things were changing. I think the Rowdy thing was a big deal. You know what I'm saying? I understand that that's not that a lot of teams would have done the same thing, but you're the Pirates. You can't afford to do those things. And when your ownership is already under the microscope. They've earned it. I'm not defending anyone here. I'm just calling it the way I'm seeing it. When they're already under a microscope and people have a target already on them, it's easy to pile on. We know from past things that the ownership, specifically Bob Nutting, hates it when national media gets involved. He hates it. He hates being embarrassed by him. And every time something like that happens, you hear something come out. Whether it's him making a comment about, well, Ben has money. Ben can do what he wants. You know what I'm saying? And then Ben comes back saying he didn't give me any money. And it's like, well, here we go. There's been tension there. I mean, we remember that. We remember that little back and forth. There's tension. And I thought, they're not going to let Sherrington go because of the risk. And maybe we'll get into that. Maybe we won't. Because of the risk of having to hit the reset button again. Yeah. Right? And they also don't want that because they know it's a risk that if you bring in somebody else and they're not, and you don't bring in a guy who says, yeah, we're gas pedal time. I'm going to take everything that happened and keep it going, but do better, right? More consistent, faster. But the thing is like, I think that when that season was over and Ben Sherrington went in for his meeting, I think it was tense. And I think that there were things said, and you know that, like I said, this isn't a one-way thing. They were both frustrated with each other. And this season's finally over, and you go into that meeting, and I bet those conversations were, you heard him say, I recommended to the front or to the ownership to keep Derek Shelton. First off, you're the GM. You've been hired to hire the manager. So like, yes, they can just approve or not approve. They could say you need to fire this guy. But like typically, we know Bob Nutting doesn't inject into those things. Sometimes we wish he did. Sometimes we wish he'd stay away. It just depends on what we're talking about. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's like the complete opposite of like a Jerry Jones, right? Where he's like in on everything. And Bob's like, no, I'm hiring you to do this, right? And I think they go into that room. I think they said what they said, and I think in the end, I think you had a guy, Ben Sherrington, who essentially said, let me see this through. And you have an ownership group who probably said, you've got a year to prove it. You've got 2025. If I don't see it, you're gone. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And if that's the call, I'll finish my thought here and then I'll let you roll on it. If that is the call, and I'm Ben Sherrington, I have a very tense and a very important offseason ahead of me. I don't want to have to add a coach interview process, a manager interview process to that. So I'm saying, all right, then I'm rolling with this guy so that I don't have to first hire a manager and then worry about the team on the field because I already have a plan and my guy already know what he wants. If we get a new manager, he might come in here and say, that's cool. I'm going to take this job, but I also want X, Y. You know what I'm saying? And so this is clear to me what I'll say is if that's what happened, it's clear to me why Shelton would stay. Because if that was me, I would make the same decision just for that purpose. Sure. I have to, which really, if they'd have just made the Shelton move last year, we'd be just keeping the guy. You know what I'm saying? So whatever it is, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah, and I excuse me, and I see that for sure. Like keeping the guy who you're comfortable with, who you already have a work relationship with. Don't want to add the extra stress on finding another guy. But at the same time, if I have a year to prove it, if I have a year and my job's on the line, I'm making sure I got the right personnel that's going to back me, that's going to put my best foot forward on putting a winning team on the field. And if that's Derek Shelton, if I feel like that's Derek Shelton, that's fine. If I believe it's not, I have to make that move right this second and get another guy in here ASAP. Like I need to have I need to have another manager by the end of the postseason.
Well, and he's the yes guy. Shelton will do the things, right? He's the guy who's not going to challenge Sherrington. So as far as that goes, he's got the guy. He's got the guy who will do what they want.
Right. And I get that. But at the same time, like Sherrington's not calling the dugout to tell him when to take a pitcher out. You know what I mean? Like,
well, no, but that's the thing is, do you want a guy who actually manages to make his players better and to win games and to maybe even hold people accountable every once in a while? Or do you want a manager who says, yeah, I'm on the same page with you and these are the players I want to work with and these are, you know what I'm saying? So he's making his decision on, I could probably get a better game manager, but he might want different play. He might make my offseason even harder. So there's different things there where I'm just saying I think that's what I would do. But
and that's fine. I'm not arguing that fact.
Yeah.
I'm throwing another angle at it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'd want the guy in the spot that's going to give me the best chance to win in order for me to keep my job.
Yeah.
Might be a little selfish. I don't know. And maybe they wanted to let go of everybody, and Sherrington's like begging and pleading for his job, and now they're like, you got 1 year left, and works, it works. If it doesn't, see ya.
That's me though. I think that if I've only got 1 more year, I don't want to add something else to my off season that already is very important. And now you're going to be in manager interviews. I would want to be laser focused on getting all of that. Getting all the players on the field. I'm telling you right now, if you get the right roster, I mean I don't know. I go back and forth on this because I also think that this team that they had on the field, the team that they had on the field this year should have won more games than they did.
Yeah.
And so when I think of that as like, well, yeah, with a different manager, you can add 3-4 wins to that. You know what I'm saying? And so all of a sudden 3-4 wins is putting you in that place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Jim and I had this discussion. He did not think Ben's job was ever in danger. So in that case, then all of the things that I'm thinking about Shelton staying would be irrelevant. Everything I just said would be irrelevant.
Yeah.
And like, we don't know. I tend to think it was. And there were things that I was told that made me believe that. And so that's why I got to where I got to, right?
Yeah.
As far as Andy Haynes, see you later, man. See you later. This is
Don't let the door hit you.
Yep. Don't let the door hit you. But it's a needed change. Obviously, the offense hopefully gets better. I will say this though. It's not for. I'm trying to think of how I want to say it. It's not for like the organization is still going to have the same hitting philosophy. Right? So we talked about how do you get guys out of slumps? That's the big thing I've been talking about. But also, a friend of mine who talked to one of the players said, we don't adjust and they don't teach you to adjust. If there's a guy on third and nobody out, stay the course. Trust the process. It's not change your approach and drive. We can see that.
Yeah.
Right? But now we hear that. And that's all you can really hope for. I think the rest of it is fine. But when there is a guy on third with nobody out, you can't go up there and strike out.
Yeah, you can't.
You have to go up there and put the ball in play. You have to change for different situations. And that's it.
We've been saying that all year.
Yeah. And Pitt City What says, I think both are gone if they aren't over 500 next year. I think over 500 maybe, but it might be more than that. It might be because you got to think about this. Last year, the Diamondbacks made it in with 84 wins. This year, the Diamondbacks missed the playoffs with 89. So there has to be something there. I think when you say like over 500 but missed the playoffs, sure, if it was 85 wins, I think you probably maybe, depending on how it goes, maybe bought yourself another year. Or
yeah, I mean,
whatever
almost. Yeah. I think you see significant improvements and you get above 500, which is a significant improvement at this point. 76 back-to-back years.
Yeah, but the thing is let's say we were in the same situation going into September. And then we did well to get to 85 wins or even to 80, let's say 82 wins to make sure we're over 500. That doesn't keep your job because on August 31st, you weren't even close.
Yeah.
And you fought your way to just get over 500. Like, that's not going to do it for me, right? You have to be in the race, or that last surge has to put you within a game of the wild card. You know what I'm saying?
Or that last surge has got to get you in the playoffs. If you wait till the last minute, that last surge has to get you in the playoffs.
I'm saying without making the playoffs, how would you, you know what I'm saying?
I got you.
Yeah. If you make the playoffs, I think you've had your year and you've done your thing. But man, there's got to be, I don't know. It's got to be a different offseason than what we saw. I think this offseason will be very interesting for all of us, regardless of how it turns out. But for us to watch this unfold, whether it means we're getting super excited this offseason or whether we're really frustrated this offseason, it will be interesting. And there will be energy involved.
I just hope it's early. I want to get excited or mad early.
I think if there's nothing, you'll be mad early. Mm-hmm. And then if it does come up late, then you can be excited late. But yeah, you're going to have to push. And it's not a ton, Jake. It's not a ton.
No.
It's just not a ton that you need, but it's significant what you need.
It's not a lot as far as number, but it's a chunk of money.
It's quality over quantity at this point.
Definitely. We've been quantity over quality. We've been quantity. I don't want to say quantity over quality, but we've been quantity.
We've been only quantity at some point.
Yeah. I mean, some of it's been quality and some of it hasn't.
Right.
Some of it is just unknown. So that I wouldn't call that quality or not quality. You just don't know.
Yeah. Pit City What says they have to spend some dough and trade a starter for a bat. All there is to it. I actually don't think there's all there is to it. I don't think that you have to trade a starter. But I will say this. If Ben Cherington has 1 year to prove it, that B-dubs, I have to mute my mic a lot right now. If you have 1 year, that's what makes me a little bit nervous is what you've tried to build here. The reason, let's say this, the reason you do a rebuild this long is because you're not building for a window. There is no window. There's no such thing as our window has opened. Anybody who's said our window has opened, that's not really what this is. This is supposed to be a sustained winning group. That's what they said at the very beginning. And when they said that, you immediately knew this is going to be a 5-year rebuild and it's supposed to sustain. Now, I have my questions on whether he's even capable of accomplishing this. You know what I'm saying? But the way you do that is to build it and get a foundation, which he hasn't gotten offensively. He has not built a foundation. However, if you build a foundation on pitching and you have pitching continuing to come, and I know there's no such thing as a pitching prospect. We understand that. But when you have a base of a pitching program, I have a hard time trading from that. I want to trade Mitch Keller. I want to trade the guys who are there, not the guys who are coming. So if that's, if you're on the Luis Ortiz train, I've seen a lot of that. Yeah. No, Matt, you're right on it. Matt says hot take, Keller and Hayes for a bat. I don't know. I think now's the bad time to trade Key. I just don't, I don't think this is a good time. His value is very low right now. So I don't think that's it. But yeah, and Jim says here, Ben needs to have a crazy good offseason. I don't think he's capable of it. That's the thing. I'm going to sit here and say, like, this is what I would do, or this is what I think they could do, even if I go that far. But, like, I don't know how much confidence I have in any of them to make it happen, because we've seen over and over again, and last year should have been better, and you and I talked over and over and over again. That's cool that you're in on these guys. But when we go into this offseason, you have to cross the finish line. You can't be in on Shota Imanaga. You can't say we offered Shota Imanaga as good or better money than the Cubs. I don't care. Cross the finish line or you didn't get it done. So now's the time to get it done, not get close to getting it done. You know what I mean? Yeah, and so I think that's the big thing that they have to know. But for me, the way that you continue this process is trading the guys that have the value now. Those are the guys that you have to be able to move. And if you're moving if you're saying, well, we're going to move a Bubba Chandler for a bat right now, that doesn't last as long. Keep Chandler, trade Keller for that bat right now. You know what I'm saying? Or you're trading, and the problem with the pitching is you're trading it for the next guy to come up, right? So when you trade Mitch Keller, whether it's this year or whether it's 2 years from now, or whatever the contract is, when you trade Mitch Keller, you get someone else's replacement. You know what I'm saying? I mean, let's talk about Houston right now. Houston just made an announcement that they're going to have to take a step back. And it's because they were one of those blueprint guys. It took them 5 years to rebuild. And then at this point, this is the first year in 7 or 8 years that they're not going to be in the championship series. And you can see why some of that happened. Because they didn't move Bregman for one. Move Bregman because now he's going to walk and you missed that opportunity. And you even had a guy. Who's like 25, I think. I thought he was younger, but I found out today he's around like 25. I can't remember his name now. Whitfield or somebody remind me. But I did like 30 homers in the minor leagues. I'm like, you wasted it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And he's had 2 good years in the minor leagues. And it was like you could have absolutely plugged him in and you have the rest of the squad to absorb that. You know what I'm saying? Just like you did with Correa when you had Pena walking right in. I wouldn't have let Correa walk either. He'd have been traded the year before he's a free agent too. Because that's what they were doing. And that's what you have to do. You have to continue to move those players, even if you extend them, which is a good idea. Extend them, but then trade them. Like, the idea would be that when Reynolds has 2 years left or 1 year left, depending on where you're at and what you have coming, you move him. And you move him to get new guys to keep coming so that you can continually churn this thing out and so that you can sustain winning. That's the model.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they're capable of continuing that model because we've seen that they're only hitting on some of their trades. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's the thing that makes me frustrated. That's the thing that gets there. So I am way less likely to trade Harrington and Chandler and Barco and whoever else that I've heard all the names about, right? I'm way less ready to trade those guys. And I'm more ready to trade the guys like Keller who are going to continue to make more money, right? Because if I want to be able to fill a hole in, which is what you have to do early in this process, like Baltimore has to do with their starting pitching right now. It's Jordan Lyles 1 year. It's Kyle Gibson another year. It's, you know what I mean? They finally went out and got Corbin Burns. And oddly enough, it was their offense that fell apart in the end. But that's where I'm at. Like, keep churning those guys because if you trade the farm, what you're doing and what we might see him do, and I'll be excited if he makes a move because I want to win. As a fan, I want them to win this year. I don't want to have to sit on this again. Your process has been too slow. But if you trade 2 or 3 of those guys just in order to try to win this year, and then it fails and you're gone, dude, I'm so afraid that the next guy comes in and is like, well, we're missing 3 of those guys that were... I lost my video. You still hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Did you not plug it in?
Here's that thing. Here's the thing that makes it... it's running off my actual camera battery. And that's why I don't run it off my camera battery. So now I've got it plugged in. And let me see if I can... get it to power on. Yeah, it's going to power on for me. Yeah, the battery probably just died. But now it's charging. Yeah. So we should be good, maybe. Hey.
Hey.
Everybody's probably pumped up because they didn't have to Look at me
Mets
throwing a
just took the
temper
lead
tantrum.
3-2.
Oh my gosh. Grimace is at it again. In the 9th.
Yeah.
Against Devin Williams.
Pete Alonso. 2-run homer.
Wow. Okay, back in. We might trade for him now.
Nope.
Much better without your face. Thanks, Ron. I see a lot of the chat here. I've been on a roll here. I've been on a tangent. I get it. So, yeah. So there's Jim saying future Pirate Pete. That's why I said we're back in now. We're okay. We're back in. Anyway, that's the thing. For me, I'm a little concerned, and I don't want to be like I'm prospect hugging, right? I just think that depth is important, and you've got the things that you have to. If you hit on things, you have to keep doing it, and you have to keep bringing guys in.
It's not prospect hugging. I don't think. I mean, we don't have a choice.
It's a different.
We don't have a choice.
It's quite honestly, it's the difference between window or not, or just what they say is sustained winning, which is we're watching. I mean, I understand Houston's out in the first round this year, but this is what they did. And I think they kind of messed up when they extended one too many people. And now they're like, oh, I think we got excited thinking we could just play with the big boys and the money. And now we're realizing we might need to take a step back. And had they just stayed the course, I mean, they're good enough. They've been good enough.
Mm-hmm. And
so it's real interesting to watch. And I'm going to be interested to see how they approach that, because it can't be part of that. But I think for me, so Jim says Bubba Chandler, Paul Skeens, O'Neal Cruz, and Brian Reynolds are the only non-tradable players in the org, in my opinion. That's probably true. Me personally, I would add Thomas Harrington to that because I really like Thomas Harrington. But I just do. I just think that he's going to be solid, where these high ceiling guys, I think he's a really high floor guy. I really like him. But so he would be on my list because I think that for me, I have confidence he'll be a major league pitcher. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would probably have a few more, but I'm not going to go into all that. I mean, definitely Termar would be on my no trade.
The only hitter, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. If somebody came and they had a guy that I wanted and that was the only way I was getting it done, I think I'd be able to pull the trigger on Termar pretty easily. But it's there. But so Ron says, I'll say they're trying the Rays model, trade pitchers after 3-4 years to restock the farm. The Rays model is the Astros model, is the Baltimore model, is the Cleveland model. Like, these are what teams have to do. The only thing is like Houston went ahead and said, well, Altuve's our guy, right? And we like Altuve, and we'll extend Altuve because he's our guy, right? But what Tampa's doing is, I have no heart. I am a robot. Like, they make their decisions. I think Gary said it in a conversation. They make their decisions on spreadsheets, right? And so like somebody in that group chat said something like that, where it's like, it is quite honestly, like, we're taking emotion completely out of it. I don't care who you are. When it's time, you're gone. And then they keep doing it. But Tampa's doing it with hitting and pitching. They're just, they're all the way through. But you also notice that their pitching is 5-inning pitchers, 4 or 5-inning pitchers. Like, that's what they do. That's their plan. That's what they're going to do. And then they go somewhere else, and they really aren't capable of doing much more than that, except for a few times a year. And that's fine. But the bullpen's going to be good. They're going to get bullpen pieces that are going to be good. Willie Adames, I'll trade you. I got a guy. I mean, turns out to be a pretty bad apple, but he had a guy. And then, you know what I mean? And that's what it is. It's going to keep turning it because they're going to keep bringing it up in their place. They've got guys rolling. They have a way to go. They have a process where they can get something good out of players who are good, right? They would look at the Pirates team and I said this. I said, we're getting deep, but we're not getting starters. You know what I'm saying? And Tampa would be like, that's fine. We can work with that.
Yeah.
They'll do platoons where they need to do platoons. They use all 13 position players. They use all 13 pitchers. They use all 27 pitchers, however many you end up with for a year. But like, that's the thing, right? And so they get it in a way that they've been doing it for a long time. But even Tampa knows they were 81-81 this year. They know when you have to take a step back and still move a guy, even if it means, like I'm saying, like Bregman, if the Astros would have done that and they would have had 86 wins and it would have put the Mariners at 87 or something and they would have won the division, you have to be willing to do that 8 years down the road in order to say, wait, one step back, two steps forward kind of a thing. You know what I mean? And it might not even have happened. Gosh, I wish I remembered his name. He might have come up and hit 25 homers and been, you know what I mean? You just never know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I know this is a big tangent that we went off on, and but that's what we do here, right? We're just talking. How are we doing over there? 4-2.
4-2.
Mets might move on here.
Yeah. Yeah, the Brewers are done.
Good season for the Brewers, though.
Sure.
I'm not a Brewers fan and don't really like the Brewers at all because of all those years that we were good and still couldn't beat them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with all the council stuff and then, Petey's father-in-law getting the job and he's been in the game for a long time and all that stuff, I think there was a little bit of me that was just kind of like, I hope they don't just stink right after council just like left them like that.
Yeah.
So once we're here and the Pirates are out, I was kind of like, yeah, good on them. I'd like to see them run a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say I kind of was sitting on the couch out there and I'm like, man, it's crazy to think we were just watching some of these guys last year down here in Biloxi.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, that makes it easy too because you watch them so much, even though you root against them every time.
Sure, I do 100% root against. I don't say I don't root against. I don't root against them. I just don't root for them.
Yeah, a lot of good conversations here going on in the chat. I don't know. I mean, we're not gonna because they're you guys are kind of taking it off. I love it. This is the kind of stuff we're gonna get to talk about all off season, and it's gonna be a lot of fun and good community of content to listen to all off season long. We're gonna get some different opinions and some different takes, and it's awesome. I love it. I think it's really good. When you're frustrated, it's good to be frustrated together because I think it can make it a little bit more lighthearted. And, ultimately, this is what it's about, having discussions. We're going to move on because I'm looking at the time. And I just don't want to, I feel like we would be like, boy, we didn't get to do any kind of end of season. We did it a couple of years ago. We did some format like this. Last year, we did that whole thing with 412 double play and Michael and oh my gosh, and Ed, and we had them in and we were doing we did that kind of thing. And so it was a lot of fun this year, kind of back to that format that we've done before, but we're going to kind of go through some things. And I want to revisit some cold takes and some hot takes that we had at the beginning of the year because we like to see how wrong we were. And I think it's fun and also it likes to get you like in a frame of mind, like, where was I at the beginning? We did our predictions a little bit, right? But the hot and cold takes, it's there. So, do you want mine or yours first on the cold takes? I don't care.
I mean, yeah, I don't either.
Okay.
Do whatever.
All right. I said Jared Jones. This was my layup because this was before spring training. I said Jared Jones makes the opening day roster. And it was like the week before, right? And that was the big topic of discussion. So it was a little bit of a layup. Pit City What is already telling what we're about to do here. He says 2024 Team Awards, Skeens, and that's it. It's going to pretty much look like that. I also said Kutch hits his 300th home run at home, which did not happen. It happened in Philly. So I got that one wrong. And then, boy, Haynes wins another goal. Or Haynes. See what we got on the mind here. Hayes wins another Gold Glove. That didn't happen. You want me to read through yours? Or you want to read through them?
I mean, I had on mine Mitch Keller with a sub 4 ERA. Meh. Yeah, 3 or more hitters hit 20 home runs,
Hey, you got that one.
which we did get to. Barely.
Three. Not 4.
And I also had Hayes wins another Gold Glove.
Yeah, so we were on that. That was kind of like, here's the thing. We understand these were the cold takes. These were the ones that were like, we think these things are going to happen.
Yeah, as if he's healthy, he wins it.
Yeah. So these are the things that we think are going to happen. The hot takes, on the other hand, are like, it's within the realm of possibility, but we don't think it's going to happen. But boy, would it be cool. I started with Jack Sawinski 30 homers. That obviously did not happen. He had 9. So I had O'Neal Cruz 40 homers. He had 21. So that did not happen. And I said the Pirates are buyers at the trade deadline instead of sellers, which was kind of true. They did a poor job at buying, but they did buy.
But we didn't sell.
Yeah, by definition, they bought at the deadline.
Yeah.
Oh, your first one is fun.
Bednar, 45 saves.
Yeah, he had 25, which I think some people would be like, wait, he had 25?
Right. I also had Cruz. I went further than you and said 45.
You did. He had 21.
The one I almost hit on, Skeens throws a complete game shutout at the major league level. Let's see, he went 8.1 innings once, gave up a run in the 5th, 9th, had 104 pitches. His longest scoreless was that 7 inning against Milwaukee. So,
yeah, so you had a 7 inning that was actually scoreless. You had one that went 5 before they scored, and then they scored again in the 9th. So you almost had a complete game, and then he had a shutout that went 7 innings. So, and I thought you were crazy for that. Remember, I was like, yeah, they're never going to let him pitch 9 innings. They almost did.
Yeah.
Almost did. All right, so that's the hot and colds. Let's do the overall team. We got a bunch of guesses here, and they're all in. So we're going to go pretty quickly through these first 3, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jake. I'm letting this beat-ups work on me a little bit.
I love it. Tommy Lakey. Tommy went wingies. MVP or best player? I mean, we both had it. It's Paul Skeens. What about the best pitcher? Paul Skeens.
Paul Skeens.
All right. So this one we make rookie of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Paul Skeens.
Paul Skeens.
So let's actually turn gears a little bit on this one, right? The Gold Glove.
Oh, okay.
Paul Skeens.
Oh, no, yeah, okay. So we did have Gold Glove here too, and I'll go ahead and go on mine. It's Jared Triolo for me. It also could have been Mike Taylor, but you know me. The metrics still love this dude. I like the eye test at Triolo at third a lot more. Numbers were very good. So kind of hard to argue. Not a whole lot of great defense on this team. There just really isn't.
Yeah.
It's like when Key Bryan's on the field, you have, possibly the best defender in the game, and then the rest of the team is like, okay. Mm-hmm. Some of them bad. I think some of them look worse because the rest of, because if you had better fielders around you, people probably wouldn't even think of it. You know what I mean? Right. But it's not that case. I mean, we talked about how much better Key Bryan makes anybody who's playing short beside him. And then Triolo doesn't have that, but he was very good.
Yeah.
And Key's numbers, although in a down season, were actually still better than Triolo's. So if that plays out for a full season, like Key's still better, you know what I mean? But he didn't play enough.
100%.
You got Triolo too?
I do. He played 4? He played all the infield positions. He even made an appearance in the outfield this year. Still just able to just have a solid defensive season.
Yeah. All right, Jake, tell me your...
That's game, by the way.
Oh, it's over? Mets
move on.
Mets 42. Move on.
They did not met it.
They still got time. So they're running into who next? They're going to Philly. It stops there.
Sure.
I don't know. LA and San Diego is a good series. I don't know who comes out of that. I'm going Philly. I think Philly goes to the World Series this year. I think they're just not talked about enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think the hype is around the guys in the West over there with Ohtani and the way San Diego's playing, and I think it's Philly. But anyway,
most pleasant surprise, Josh.
Yeah, most pleasant supply. No, I can see. You're in the notes here, so I'm gonna go Dennis Santana.
I actually filled out some notes this week.
You did.
What's
up? Dennis Santana waiver claim. No idea. Probably rolled my eyes when they picked him up, and he ended up being. Well, I'd say probably he was the best reliever in the bullpen this year.
After his first one or two outings.
Yeah, I'd leave it up for debate, but yeah, he was great. That to me was a big surprise.
And I'm with you on that. But I'm going to go with Joey Bart because we are usually the team that sends the guy that needs the change of scenery. And we actually got a guy that the change of scenery worked out. Doesn't always happen for us. And it's a nice, pleasant breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. And I actually thought I could go Luis Ortiz here too. But maybe we'll bring him up later. I don't know. Most disappointing player for you, Jake?
For me personally, I see what you have written down, and I agree with you 100%. But for me, it's Henry Davis. I was expecting a big breakout year from him this year. Just did not. Just the absolute opposite. Unfortunately, he just kind of tripped and fell on his face after spring training, and really even during spring training, he was just getting things. His weakness was hidden, right?
Yeah. Matt here says Santana for sure. Back to the most pleasant surprise. And then Falter and Bart tied for second. I actually, just on Falter, I actually looked at a couple things. At the end of the year, I mean, it's a 4.43 ERA with a losing record. To me, that's not pleasant. Like, he still stinks. I understand that there's a lot there to like, but like all in all, full season numbers, he's still a number 5. He's just your only lefty. So you go with him right now. But I've been saying, get it on there. So back to most disappointing. Matt brings up here Sawinski, and that's where I'm at. For me, I had a lot. I still believe in the hitter and the power anyway. Most disappointing player. He was actually the guy who got my most pleasant surprise in 2022 with his 19 home runs that year. But I thought that this player in particular was important to the success of the Pirates in 2024. The home runs had to be there. He was not there. And so for me, it has to be Jack Sawinski. It couldn't have gone. I guess it could have, but it's for lack of better explanation, it couldn't have gone worse for him.
Yeah. And for the sake of the podcast, I was trying not to use the same one. That's why I said I agree with your.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Bednar was a close third.
Absolutely, yeah. Bednar was right there for me too.
All three of those guys were just.
Yep. Yeah, I probably would have went Bednar over Davis, and then probably the BDLC acquisition in general. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, it's all right there. So a little bit brighter, most improved player. And this is where I would say let's talk about him later. I'll go to Luis Ortiz here. I'll let you have the other one there. He started 15 games in back-to-back seasons, right? And I want to read this here. In 23, he was 4-5 in 73 innings. He gave up 12 home runs in 73 innings. I'll say that again. 40 earned runs, 4.93 ERA. These are only in starts, right? He started 15 games. These are not including the bullpen numbers. 48 Ks, 42 walks, a 1.699 whip, and about 6 Ks per 9. And then you fast forward to 24, 86 innings, 13 home runs. So 13 more innings, one more homer. But it's down to 31 homers. It's down to a 322. It's down to or up to 67 Ks and cut his walks about in half, down to 24. And that's a 1.004 whip and 7 Ks per 9. To me, that's a huge improvement from the year before. A guy who was an afterthought that we thought could probably handle a little bit of bullpen work, and he's really there. Jim says it's bad. Did you put this up? I'm sorry, I missed what you put up. Yeah, it's bad when there are so many options for most disappointing player. Honestly, I do believe, and this is going to be me trying to find some sick way to be optimistic about that, but you're right. If you don't have quite so many, this team wins a few more games and maybe is where they should have been, right? If Jack hits 25 home runs this year, you're probably a 500 team. That's, you know what I'm saying? I guess. I don't know. But that it was a lot of underperforming. Oh my gosh.
No way.
That is it. Jim putting on here, Francona, new manager of the Reds. They couldn't have made a more radical change than what they just made. I'm
tired of these managers retiring and coming back and then retiring and coming. Jeez,
from one of the worst,
retired or not?
From one of the worst managers in the game to one of the best now. I don't understand it because the whole reason he retired is because he can't do it for health. So I don't know if he's just miraculously better or if he's like, I'm only going to manage home games or what. But I don't understand what's going on. But this is huge. Like, let's talk about... I don't want to go too far off. We are pushing our hour right here, but I'll say this and then we'll move on and maybe we'll talk about this on another show. But that team should have been way better than they were. When you have a positive run differential in the last week, it shrunk down to pretty small because they really stunk. They were 1-5 after he was fired and they barely scored any runs. But at one point they had like a 20 run differential, plus 20, and they had a losing record. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of stink about that. Francona is a team who literally all of a sudden they're a better team. He's that good. This stinks. And it's gonna attract more players. They want to play for him. This is a big move for Cincinnati, man. That stinks. All right. Let's try to stay in a little bit of a better mood here. Who's your most improved player?
There's 0% chance I can stay in a better mood. 0%.
You want to do your most improved player?
So I don't. I want to be livid for a second. Just absolutely irate for a second because this is what sucks about being a Pirates fan is as soon as we get any ounce of hope, the Reds go and do something like this. Like, give me a freaking break, man. Like, are you serious right now? Oh my gosh.
This is why you fire your manager a week before the end of the season.
Yes. This is unbelievable. I don't even know what to say right now. I'm so mad. I'm livid. My blood pressure is probably through the roof right now. I might need to go take another pill. Golly.
Jim says, hey guys,
Francona.
We have Shelty for year 6. How's that make you feel?
Not great. Nikki G, good job. You improved a lot this year.
Jake's most improved player is Nick Gonzalez. Yeah, that's a really good one. And once again, a guy who goes as we get it. We'll get back into this, I think, because I think you'll just have bursts of anger that will come out, and so I will welcome it. I think that anybody listening here is really going to love it.
I just started sweating.
Yeah, I imagine you did.
So mad.
Nikki G took himself from a bust to an everyday big leaguer this year as far as what people were talking and how they were talking about him. So I don't think he's done. I think there's more in the tank. That's a good pick. Let's go ahead and stay negative for the rest of the show here. Who's your dude who took a step back? And I'll start with mine. It's Jack Swinski. I've already talked about him. He took a step back. He's got a lot to prove in order to still be what I expected from him and what the Pirates hoped he would be. He's got a lot to prove. Who's your guy?
I try to think outside the box on this.
Okay.
Because we were just the same people over and over again.
I got you.
It's Ji-hwan Bae for me. Ji-hwan Bae was given every opportunity last year to succeed. He didn't do it. He did okay enough for them to still think he had a shot this year. Dude come out of the gate and just took every possible chance that he had and just basically threw it in the trash can like we're doing with Shelton right now. And not trying to get Francona. No. But like, he took a step back and he's pretty much stepped himself out of any chance.
Yeah. Hey, Derek Shelton's 2024 grade. I got a D, and my comment was just not enough, man. Go ahead.
I put a D, and I feel like I'm being generous.
Yeah. Before 15 minutes ago, what do you have for your Ben Sherrington's 2024 grade?
I almost scrolled too far down. I put C- because I saw what he was trying to do with some of his moves. Unfortunately, the players didn't hold up their end of it. But he definitely has a lot to prove this offseason.
What about in this moment right now?
Just an absolute bombshell of an F. F-.
Yeah, I was not as gracious as the C-. I have a D. Had Rowdy worked out, maybe it could have been better. Had BDLC worked out, maybe it gets to a C. But
I just don't know that.
I don't know.
The only problem with the De La Cruz one is, no, it didn't. It still could.
Sure, but 2024 though.
That's true.
Yeah. 2024 grade, is not good. So I have to leave a little bit in there because what we're seeing in the development and the pitching, I still think is really good, and I think that's under him and what he's put in place. So
I doubt it.
Yeah. So that's it. Anyway, Reds seemingly going to make an announcement.
Friday is Hawaiian Shirt Day.
So
if you want to, go ahead and
hire Terry Francona. So,
I'm bummed out.
Yeah,
I'm bummed out.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Dang it, Bobby.
I don't.
This is fine.
Yeah.
It's not fine.
This is fine.
Just disgusted, man. Disgusting.
Yeah. Ron wants to know if you need him to share some moonshine with you. Yeah, this is it's so funny that the thing is you can get caught up in looking at yourself in the mirror and saying how good or how frustrated or how if this thing or that thing or whatever, right? And these are all just hypotheticals. But if you miss on looking at your competition, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not enough to say, okay, it's been 5 years, right? You've placed 5th in 3 of those years and 4th in 2 of those years. But one of the years you finished 4th is like a technicality. You were tied with the bottom number. In 62 and 100, you lost 100 games. The only reason you're in 4th is because you had a winning record against the team who had the same record as you. You know what I'm saying? It was the Reds, coincidentally. But you were 12-7 against the Reds, put you in 4th place. Fight me if you want to argue with me. And MLB.com doesn't look at it that way because they use alphabetical order. But it is the 4th. It is 4th place. Not that it matters. It's next to last. But the point is, I'm a technicality guy. It counts. What if you're not looking at the teams that are right with you in 4th and 5th and you're not seeing what they're doing, you're missing so much, because you could get better, but if you're not getting better than they are, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't matter. And I'll give a little bit to the Pirates here. If you're trying to give them anything, right? They had a better record against the Central than the Cubs did and the Reds did, right? They were better against our own teams than those two teams. But overall, you weren't. So it doesn't matter in the end. Right. But what I'm saying is when you start to...
Because we would have, if we were better than them in the division, used to would add more wins to your overall record, but we don't play our division as much as we used to.
Well, yeah, and they still go head-to-head first in the tiebreakers. So it never even goes to...
Right.
Yeah, it does. It does go to division record like after that, but... Yeah, but either way, like until you're better than your division, it just it doesn't matter if you're incrementally getting better. I don't know. This to me is a big deal because how many times do you see a rebuild go with one guy and then flip it to a new guy? Because you need to bring in a guy. First off, you need to bring in a guy who is capable of the job, and we have a lot of questions about Derek Shelton there. And Sherrington says today, I think there's a lot of things he's good at. All right. I'll actually give you that. There are a lot of things he's good at. Unfortunately, none of them are winning baseball games. There's a lot of things he could be good at, right? The other thing is go somewhere else and be good at it. Because right now, a change needed to be made for the culture of the team in that room. You needed to change the way it looked. You needed to change the way it was managed. Things get too comfortable, and this is the kind of thing. This does not lend well moving forward for me. No. This is bad for me. And then to see something's flickering in here. The heck is that flickering? Oh, geez. It's the stinking TV with their champagne. Turn that off. I'm like looking around, seeing flashing lights and everything. It's just the TV, the Brewers or the Mets in there doing their thing. Reminding me again that we haven't seen the Pirates do that in 10 years. So, yeah. This is big. We've always had it to bank on. Oh, the Reds got David Bell, though. They can't be that good. He's going to get in the way. And I don't even think Shelton's as bad as him. As soon as he was fired, I was like, crap, now we got the worst manager in the division. Vincent popping in, saying Francona the Reds might want to back it up about 10, 15 minutes to see the rampage that Jake went on.
Just take a knife and just stab it in my chest when stuff like that happens. You know what I mean? That's just, like,
I think that's overboard. I think
that's no. I mean, that's like you know what I'm saying. Like it's golly, you get an ounce of hope in it. Like I had a lot of hope with keeping Shelton. That's not what I'm saying. It's just I don't know. You show signs of the players that you're developing a little bit. Just starting to see signs of fruition, and all of a sudden,
yeah. Jim says it's hopeless or without hope. Unfortunately, for me, I'm just not capable of that. So for me, it is we only have hope, and that is it's a similar statement, but it's the only thing left. It's not concrete. I still it's the Ron. Call me drunk on my birthday, but I'm optimistic about next year. Ron, you're drunk on your birthday, bud. No, I'm kidding. I'm I do. I do, man. I'm going to try to not let this take over here, but I do think that there's still a path for this team to be better, but it's going to end up being how big of a step does St. Louis take back? What do the Cubs do knowing that they just didn't get it done? What Milwaukee's not going anywhere. All the guys that was the most impactful on their team are like 10 years old. So they're not going anywhere. There's a lot of this division is going to start doing something again. Do I have the standings up? I don't. I'm just trying to look around here because I do see some things, like I said, about this division. I mean, we were in last place. We had 76 wins. And there's not another division in the game right now whose last place team won 76 games. This isn't a powerhouse division. This division is not winning 99 games for the winner, although 93 was a little bit higher than we thought it was going to be. And we also said that it would take like 85, and 83 was the second place team. So 84 would have got it done. I don't think it's much better than that next year, Jake. I think it takes 85 wins and then see where you're at. Okay. So for the listeners in audio, Jim put up that Churio is 20 and already better than anyone on our team. And Jake then showed Jackson Churio bobblehead. Or is it a bobblehead?
It is, but it's a terrible bobblehead.
Okay.
It's a AA bobblehead.
Sure. It's a AA bobblehead from the Biloxi Shuckers, but either way, it's there. And so it's, they extended him before he ever played. Matt says, and the Brewers already extended him. Before he ever even played a major league game, he was extended. Maybe a path he could have made with Skeens. I don't think he would have done it, but, it's just one of those things. Anyway, back to my point here. This division is not going to be a powerhouse with 100-win team in it, I don't think, right? But if the Cardinals the Cardinals won 83 games this year, and that, I think, surprised most of us, and we already know they're taking a step back. We already know that they're hitting a little bit of a reset button, and that they're going to sell off a bunch of people, and they're letting Goldschmidt walk, and not that he was great anyway, but the point is they're going to go down a little bit. And so if they go down to where we are now, we're still in a division that is going to be tight. The bottom end is not as low as other divisions, which actually probably feeds more into the fact that you don't have a 98-win team, because the Dodgers, who won 98, had a 101-loss team. You know what I'm saying? And you can keep going down the list there. The Yankees, 94, they had that was the closest to us, but we know that's the AL East, and they've always been, right? But the White Sox with 121, I talked about that. I wrote a piece on it on SteelCityPirates.com about Kansas City and Detroit. Essentially, the White Sox put them in the playoffs, right? And you got Detroit, who was 24-10 in their last to end the season, right? But they only played two teams during that stretch who had a winning record. So like they gotta, you have to win the teams, you have to win the games. I'm not arguing that. We're not going to get into that conversation, but like they got some help.
Yeah.
But like all these other ones, the AL West had two teams over 90 losses. You know what I mean? And the NL East had a 100-loss team and a 91-loss team. So I think sometimes when you do that, you can get those high-win division leaders, right? And I don't think that that's our division, which makes our division a winnable division if you do the right thing. And what the Reds just did might be the right thing without any offseason moves. Imagine that pitching staff is healthy next year. Imagine that. With Green and Lodolo and Abbott and Ashcraft and, you know what I'm saying? And now with Louder in the mix, like that's actually a rotation I can get behind.
Yeah.
If they stay healthy. And then you turn that into these young players a lot like what you're seeing in Milwaukee. If you can get a guy who can get those guys moving, who can get those guys to stay consistent. They just lost the whole season to McLean. He'll be back next year. I'm just saying, like, you have to look at your division opponents to say, okay, are the Pirates, we can like some of the things they're doing if we want to, but how much do you need to actually get above them? And I'm not just saying the Reds, because they also were, they were one game different than us, right?
It just frustrates me more probably because we just opened up this podcast and I was like, if it were me, I probably would let Shelton go and hire a manager before the end of the postseason.
Mm-hmm. And then here it is.
But it's the daggum Reds.
And it's the guy who everybody's been talking about for the last week and a half that the Pirates should be going after. Go after Francona. He's a Pittsburgh area guy. Up there in New Brighton or wherever he's from. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you got a guy there who could be there. You know, Beaver County guy. Get him in Pittsburgh. He'd love it. That'd be awesome. And I remember we're like saying to like some of those people, like, audibly, be like, isn't he done? Like, can't he, like, physically, medically not manage anymore? And then here we go. Boy, I tell you, that'll be a change of pace. Instead of having your manager picking fights every night, he's just going to chill. He's just going to chill out, man. It's weird that, like I said, that it's just a manager for another team that's triggered us to the point where we're now an hour 15 and we need to shut this thing down. I come on here and I know I have vents and things to complain about, but I always try to have some sort of positive spin on things. I try to, that's my personality, right? I'm going to try to do something that no matter, I can be honest about it at the same time. I can be real about it, but I'm trying to find a silver lining somewhere.
I'll be positive tomorrow.
That's how I feel. Actually, not tomorrow, because tomorrow is the day they'll make the announcement.
Friday.
So, I don't.
Well, Lottie frickin' da!
All right, man.
I'll be positive on Saturday when I'm
This is fine.
officiating one of my best friend's weddings. So,
Well, you got to be positive. You have to be
I'll
positive.
be positive then.
You got to be positive then. Well, there we have it.
So may or may not be on Sunday
Oh, yeah.
because the wedding is in Nashville on Saturday. So I'll be driving home on Sunday. I might get home in time. I don't know what time I don't know what our Sunday looks like.
You're killing me,
but
Smalls.
yeah, I know. I'm gonna do what I can.
Yeah.
6.5 hour drive, I do believe.
Yeah, you're fine.
So.
We'll figure it out if you're not here. Actually, I'll probably just take that clip of what you just did and just play that. I think everybody would like that. All right, guys. That's got to be enough for us, man. Thanks again for listening to the show. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button on the YouTubes. If you're listening to a podcast and you're not subscribed and getting those auto downloads, do that as well. So let's go, Bucks.
Let's go, Bucks.
Thanks for listening to my dad and Uncle Jake on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2Buctober. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucks!